Midori Akitsu is a lonely and depressed woman, overstressed because of work. After dying, she meets God, who reincarnates her into another world as a newborn child with godly powers. Our story opens with Midori Akitsu dying due to overworking. After dying, she cries and regrets how short her life was and how lonely she was. She couldn't even say goodbye to her parents. That's when God connects to her soul and contacts her. God tells her that humans are persecuting other creatures in a world called Astillan, and if she wants to be born into that world with some special powers, her mission would be to decide if humans should be eradicated. He asks her what power she wants, and she, out of a cravedness, replies that she wants to pet fluffy things. God becomes confused, but decides to make creatures other than humans like her as her special power, and sends her to the other world without agreeing and listen to her decision completely. Moving forward to the main story, she wakes up in another world as a newborn baby. Her new parents name her Nefertima Osfe, and her sister gives her the nickname Nema. 3 years pass and Nefertima grows older. Nefertima reveals that she was reincarnated into the royal ducal family of Osfe as the thirdborn. Nema proudly introduces each member of her family: her oldest brother, Ralph, her lively sister, Karna, her mother, Cerulia Osfe, her father, Dalen Osfe, and her beloved furry dog, Dee. She fondly describes the love and support she receives from each of them, painting a picture of a perfect and happy life surrounded by loved ones and cherished pets. After some time, she grows and becomes 3 years older. Her mother has to go to work at a royal palace, but can't leave her at home as nobody is present at home at the moment. So she takes Nefertima with her. After arriving at the palace, she does a protection spell on Nefertima and leaves after telling her to wait for her and be a good girl. But Nema leaves the place after following a pigeon and ends up encountering a big, fluffy white tiger. They become fond of each other, and while she's riding on the tiger's back, the owner of the tiger, who's a beautiful guy, tells Nefertima that Lars, the tiger, is tamed, but still a beast. So she should get down as he could be dangerous. He puts her down and asks about her parents. He learns that she's from the Osfe family, so he takes her to her father. There, she comes to know that the guy is actually the prince, and she also meets the king of the nation, Galdi Ros Gosh. When Cerulia hears all this, she becomes mad at Nema, but quickly cools down. Afterwards, Nema goes to her siblings' school with her parents, where they are warmly welcomed as honored guests. She watches a battle between her brother and an opponent, where magical soldiers fight on a battlefield similar to chess. Her brother easily wins the battle and she goes to her brother. When he grabs her, she tells him she has to handle some urgent business. After the mission, she finds her brother talking to a guy named Tristan Distal. Out of nowhere, he disrespects Ralph and Nefertima gets mad, and she also insults him back. After hearing this, he rages up and tries to kick Nema. While Ralph is almost there to protect her sister, the prince, Wulherd Gauch, arrives, and out of respect, everyone bows down. He asks Tristan if he was trying to hit Nefertima, which he denies. Ralph asks the prince how he knows his sister. He explains the backstory, then grabs Nefertima and jokingly asks if she wants to be his plaything. She instantly denies it, but when he tempts her with the access of coming to his palace, she rethinks the golden opportunity. The prince tells Tristan to stay away from Nema and not do anything like that again. Then he asks Nema if her eyes are black, to which she lies because having black eyes in this world isn't something normal. Then they go to see the test of Karna, whose task is to defeat a monster summoned by a magic circle. A mighty, holy fire dragon beast gets summoned. Everyone panics as it seems impossible to have a huge beast summoned. The prince asks Dalen if her daughter's element is fire, to which he replies that her fire skill is high but her water skill is low, meaning Karna is at a disadvantage. With a weird smile, Karna seems confident after seeing her opponent, as does Cerulia. Nefertima becomes brave and runs towards her sister, thinking every animal loves her and so will the dragon. She jumps from a huge height, but is saved by magic. She then runs toward the dragon. Everyone shouts at her to stop, but she doesn't listen. She goes near the dragon and tells everyone, including her sister, not to hurt it. Nefertima goes in front of the dragon and finds out she can actually talk to it. The dragon tells her that they unjustly summoned him, which is unfair, so he has to fight. While she tells him that she wants to touch his skin, the dragon replies, What a strange child, but bows down so she can touch him. The dragon likes her and tells her that she can acknowledge her as his master when she grows up. He also gives her an orb that has the ability to change shape the way Nefertima wants. She gives it a teddy bag shape by just thinking it in her mind. The dragon tells her the orb will make them connected, and she may use his magic through the orb. He then tells her his name is Soul, and leaves. On this matter, Nefertima and her parents get called by the king. They demand that she not become dangerous or a threat to the kingdom, to which Dalen swears in his name that she will not. A mage named Salzar explains that the dragon was summoned by God himself, and the spellcaster had nothing to do with it. After a while, Wilherd teases Nefertima, but then lets her play with Lars, so she can sleep with him. At the palace, everyone sees how Lars, a beast, is so casual with Nefertima, so they start gossiping about how she could be a great tool for a battle, and how they should keep Nema under their supervision. The minister at the palace, Olive Wise, says to her father that Lars might be attached to her because of the red dragon. Then the head of the knighthood and royal guard, Gausch Zelnin, advises that they should assign a personal guard for Nefertima. Then the priest of the church also tells Dalen that he should let the church look after his daughter, and they will grow her as a holy maiden. Ultimately, these useless thoughts make Dalen angry, but he calmly explains that she is loved by animals and beasts because she is innocent. In the end, the matter goes to the king, and they finally make the people stop who were against Nefertima. Nefertima gets woken up by Lars, and then the kings tell her she can freely go anywhere in the palace she wants. Wilherd sends Nefertima to the dragon stables, accompanied by a handsome guard, Gwyn. There, she meets the captain of the Dragon Knights Legion, Dan Yates. For unknown reasons, Gwyn and Dan start insulting each other, but Nema stops them. It is revealed that both have been rivals of each other since school. Dan takes Nema inside the stables, and Nema gets amazed by the beauty of the dragons after seeing the view. She finds out that Dan also loves dragons just like her. She desires to pat the dragons, but resists saying it to Dan, as she thinks he'll decline a request to touch them. That's when her orb backpack starts to glow, and she uses a power that makes all the dragons come towards her. The dragons surround her. Dan, Gwyn, and others think that the dragons are going to attack them, but Nema introduces herself and starts to converse with them. This shocks everyone else, but she is busy patting them. After being comfortable with the dragons, she asks Dan if she can play with the flying dragon, to which he reluctantly replies, yes. She goes to the dragon's back and he flies. They get more shocked by this special treatment of dragons towards Nema. The dragon asks Nema if he detects the fire dragon's presence in her, but sees no contract with the fire dragon. He welcomes her as the dragon maiden and takes her to a garden, where she starts playing with all kinds of dragons. Meanwhile, Dan tells Gwyn that the dragon that took away Nema is Gazelle, who has pride and won't let anyone on his back, but somehow gives Nema a ride. After seeing all of this, Dan gets confused, but then Gwyn makes him remember the event of the red dragon. Dan reveals that he heard about the event and saw the dragon while he was flying. Gwyn says that Nema is now known to be the fire dragon's master, but she hasn't made a pact with him. They could not believe it, but one new thing shocks them more. Nema arrives on the back of Lars, accompanied by the dragons. Later, Nema tells Dan and Gwyn that she had so much fun after giving the dragons head pats. You know what else is fun? Patting the like and subscribe button with your mouse or finger. You should try it if you haven't yet. But if you do, I get to share more fun stories with you. Plus, it'd really help me out. I'd appreciate it. The next day, Nema visits the beast stables. There, she meets the captain of the Beast Knights Legion, Leston Ogma, formerly known as Les. Les becomes suspicious because of her red dragon story. He takes her inside the stables, which turn out to be a beautiful big garden like a safari park. Nema sees a beautiful brown horse, Uaz, the leader of the herd, who isn't friendly. Even he ignores Nema. But when Les calls him selfish, that comment hurts Uaz. So, Nema consoles her, and Les apologizes to Uaz. Later, Nema rides on another horse, Hugh. Furthermore, Nema thinks that type of beautiful horse will be perfect for her brother. Les on Uaz, Nema, and Dan on Hugh roam around the stables while checking new and different species of animals. Suddenly, the children of the boars attack them, but they get saved by Uaz. Nema thanks Uaz, and Uaz responds charmingly, which leaves Les in doubt again. Why is the leader of the herd being friendly to an unknown girl? After a while, they see a flock of wakas, the fastest animal on the lands, who are used in emergencies as messengers. Nema, being Nema, demands to ride them, even though an unwilling Les accepts. They start riding a waka, Yoshu, and it turns out to be so fast that the fast air hurts Nema's eyes. Les then casts a spell to protect Nema from the wind, which he didn't do from the start to tease her. He then gets a message via his messenger eagle that one of the rare white moose ran away. So he apologizes to Nema and calls it a day for tourism, but tells her she can revisit anytime. Moments later, he meets his subordinates and tells them to find the moose quickly. Meanwhile, Nema goes to meet Giselle again. He goes into deep thinking about why the day was so weird, that Uaz took a liking to Nema, Yoshu obediently obeying orders, and the escape of the moose. After some time, Nema comes back to the beast stables with Lars, while riding on the lost moose's back, telling him she found her while she was with Lars. Les becomes jealous of her and takes a liking to her special ability to be loved by animals. On another day, it's Nema's birthday. Her parents ask her for one wish they'll fulfill, which she demands, going to the city with her sister. At first, they try to deny it, but eventually agree to send her with Karna and Paul. Nema goes on her first shopping trip with her sister. Karna teaches her about how to use currency here. Nema then uses it to buy 3 legs of turkey and 24 confectionaries called pepes, calling her first shopping trip a success. After a while, Connor stops at a cafe where she meets 3 blunt and rude women. They trash talk Nema and Karna, saying that Nema is weird and doesn't look like her parents and has no magical powers. Furthermore, they pick on her for having black eyes and call them creepy. Karna maturely and calmly handles the situation by telling them they're idiots in the most mannered way. She tells them that the royal family is fond of her sister and thinks that Nema is incredible. The women start to show jealousy on their faces, so Karna tries to ignite them more by telling them they are ignoble and how it would be bad for her family's name to talk to women like them. She leaves after this conversation. Upon arriving home, Nema is walking to the main room while thinking about how cool her sister was today and what an amazing day it was for her birthday. As soon as she opens the main door, she gets welcomed by a party bumper with birthday events and many guests, including the prince, king, and queen as well. Dalen tells her that they kept it a secret to surprise her. Seeing the love everyone has for her, Nema starts crying. Wilher tries to tease her by telling her that she looks ugly when she cries. The queen, Relena Gauch, gives Nema a gift from the king and herself. Turns out it's a necklace with a beautiful set of magic stones. Wilherd also gives a protection band. She then receives various gifts from the guests, including a baby eagle she receives from Les, which she names Nox. In an open field, Nema starts training Nox. Les suggests that she should try flying Nox tomorrow, to which Nema gets sad and says she might not be able to come by as much anymore as she has to start studying. Then she meets Annalie Dessa, her new private tutor. As soon as the butler leaves the room, she tells Nema that they have to start on working on her manner of speech. She then hits Nema with a hand fan and tells her that the butler told her that Nema still calls her parents Mama and Papa. After Nema glares at her, she tells Nema that a noble lady should never let her emotions be seen. This makes Nema think of her as an enemy. Annalie continues to teach her and hits her every time she makes a mistake. After that, she leaves for the day, saying there's still a lot she has to learn. At night, Nema thinks that Annalie is making fun of her, and she should retaliate. The next day, Nema uses her cuteness and thanks Annalie for her guidance. At night, Nema's family gets worried as she has not finished her food. After her mother asks about her health, Nema runs away, trying to avoid telling her about Annalie. Ralph brings her to her mother, who guesses that Nema is feeling down because of Annalie. Nema then tells her that she has to fight her own battle. Her mother then responds that in order to win, she'll have to come up with some strategy. Ralph adds that he won't interfere in her fights, but he'd love to see Nema grow into a noble lady one day. And the brother and mother decide to keep this a secret from the father and sister Karna. A year passes by, and Nema is turned into a lovely noble lady. Even Dale's surprised to see Nema like this. Nema then gives all the credit to Annalie, which makes her blush, and she says that she's very proud, but Nema feels something weird. Nema then asks Paul the butler about Lady Annalie, who hands Nema some papers and tells her that while looking for a tutor for Nema, they look into Annalie's background and found nothing suspicious about her. However, some of Annalie's relatives are ardent believers in the Church of Divine Creation, the church with the lousy priest, who acted like some messenger from God. Annalie then continues to teach Nema, and while teaching her, Nema asks Annalie about Lacus, the country in the southwest that's struggling due to a drought. They were suffering from a food shortage and a lack of water, so they resorted to asking for help from the neighboring regions. Nema then asks why the Church of Divine Creation hasn't helped them, to which Annalie replies that they have angered God, and if anyone from the church were to help them, it'd mean they'd be going against God's will. Nema then tells her since the God of creation created all of the people, it wouldn't make any sense to kill them as punishment. Annalie tells her that Lacus harbors the beast people, and who knows what else they must be doing. When Nema asks if Annalie has ever met any of the beast people, she replies that they're too terrifying to approach. This is when Nema realizes that the reason she's been feeling weird is because of the discriminatory elitism that is caused by Annalie's beliefs. Nema then tells her that someone like Annalie shouldn't be so uncouth. This infuriates Annalie, and she hits Nema on the face. Nema then tells her that as a daughter of the Duke, she'll never be this uncultured. She then embarrasses Annalie, who storms out of the room, and Nema mumbles that it's a victory for her. She still continues the tutoring sessions, and Nema learns how to act like a proper lady. One day, Dale asks Nema if she'd like to go on a tour of the Northern Territory with him, and Nema agrees. They go through a magical portal and are instantly teleported. Dale then casts a magic spell on Nema to keep her warm, as the northern weather is extreme. They then stop to take some rest, where Dale tells them about monster spotting in the nearby area, and tells them they're going to build an outpost for the knights to protect the people. Her father then says that he'd like to get some help from Sol, as he might have some more information related to the monsters. Nema then uses her bunny to contact Sol and tells him about the situation, to which he replies that the monsters shouldn't be in that area. Dale suspects that it may have been a man-made problem. Outside the inn, Nema prepares for her remaining journey and packs all the stuff she might need, such as a knife and Nox's cage. As they continue their journey, the crew finds an injured rabbit. While the rest of her crew members suggests that they should leave as blood attracts monsters, Nema decides to help the poor creature, and against her father's will, she runs to help the little rabbit. As she finds the rabbit and is heading back to get it all patched up, Nema gets captured by goblins, and they take her to their lair. However, upon closely looking at their actions, she thinks that they're cute, but she quickly remembers that they're monsters. They then take her to a cell, where she meets Pino, a green-haired sweet boy, and his sister Nino. While waiting for Dale to come and rescue them, they all get hungry. Driven by hunger, Nema tries to find the exit, but is encountered by a goblin. Upon asking for food, he hands her a yellow-colored fruit. She takes a bite, but it's bitter. The goblin then shows her that she has to first peel off the skin, for which she uses her knife. The goblins then, upon seeing this, start using the sharp rocks near them to peel it off, and they all start having fun. Nema sees this and decides she doesn't want any of the goblins exterminated. She then encounters the goblins' leader, who is a huge but sweet goblin. He scolds the goblins for kidnapping another human child. To her surprise, he can talk in a human language. Upon asking him why the goblins are kidnapping kids, he tells her that it's in their nature. Rather than call it kidnapping, they're taking care of the kids. She then asks him why the goblins are killing humans, to which he replies, well, to survive. He then explains that the reason they left their previous nest was because they were chased out by humans. Nema, feeling guilty, asks the goblins whether they would like to get their revenge on the humans, to which the leader replies that they just want to become a part of the forest once again. Nema comes up with a plan to save the goblins, to which the leader replies, so it's okay to kill the humans? She thinks that the only way the goblins can survive is by forming a contract with humans. She tells them the only way they're going to survive is if they make it out from her father's rage today. She then comes up with a plan to help the goblins live. She asks Pino and Nino for help to have them act as decoys and pretend to be chased by the goblins. That way, when some of the helpers would go to protect the children, it would be easier for Nema to talk to her father. Pino refuses as it would put his sister in danger. Even after Nema tells him that she'll put a protective spell on his sister, he still refuses and tells her he doesn't want Nino to go through anything scary ever again. But the sister steps up to the plate. Nino agrees to help them and even motivates Pino to help her. Just as Dale is outside the cave's entrance, Pino and Nino come out running and screaming, getting chased by goblins. Some of the rescuers protect the children, while the rest of them chase the goblins, only to be encountered by the goblin leader, who tells them that they'll return the children. Dale comes and tells him that it's rare to see a talking goblin, and he starts attacking him. Just as he unleashes his attack, he notices the goblin leader is protected by the same shield Nema is. He calls out his daughter, who comes out and apologizes to him. However, as she meets her father, some of the rescuers attack the goblin leader again, who is once again protected by Nema's shield. Seeing this, Nema rushes to protect the goblin leader and tells her father the reason why the goblins left their previous nest, and this cools him down a little. As soon as the entire situation is handled and all of them make peace, Nox, who is still in the air, signals the crew for immediate danger. Moments before they're faced by a terrifying frost spider, even Dale is scared after looking at it. The goblin leader steps in. Nema tries to stop him, but her father stops her, saying that it's his own fight and he has to fight. Before the fight begins, Nema senses that the frost spider is starving and is panicked. She understands why the spider would be hungry, but is unsure why it's panicking. The fight starts and the frost spider makes a great start, but as soon as it's about to land a proper hit on the goblin leader, he jumps in the air as if he's flying. The goblin leader comes down from the height and punches the spider with all his might, smashing its head and popping one of its eyes. Thinking that it's all over, the goblin leader lets his guard down, and as soon as he's about to celebrate his victory, the spider jumps on the goblin. Nema thinks that if the goblin leader loses, her father will wipe out all of the monsters here. As she's panicking, the almost dead spider starts to rise up, and it's the goblin leader who's picking it up. He throws the spider away, telling Nema that the only reason he's safe is because of Nema's protective spell. As the spider struggles on its last breath, Nema hears its voice, telling her it just wanted to protect its kids. Confused, Nema then sees a baby spider crawling up to her. She then understands that the reason why the spider was panicking was because it was pregnant. Just as she's releasing all of this, the spider passes away. Nema gets heartbroken because of this, and although she dislikes God, she still prays to the spider that if it goes into the afterlife, let it live in peace. Looking at her sad daughter, Dale also gets worried. Nema stops crying and says that it's the survival of the fittest, but she can't change that no matter how selfish she gets. Her father, after seeing this, hugs her and Nema starts to cry her lungs out. Dale calms her down and wipes her tears. As soon as she stops crying, the goblin leader evolves into a human form with black horns and dark blue hair. Upon asking Soul, she finds out the goblin leader, the hobgoblin, was already in the highest evolutionary form that could be achieved by goblins. She then describes his new evolved form, to which Soul replies that he does know that an Oni lives in Washit, who possesses human bodies and horns. When Nema asks what an Oni is, Soul says that he'll personally come and look at the situation. After this, Nema asks the baby spider what it wants and whether it would like to come with them, to which the baby spider climbs up on her shoulder, and Nema gives her a name, Gratia. By naming her, some weird symbol appears on Gratia's forehead. The next day, as the goblin leader is busy removing the frost spider's body, Nema asks him whether he's going to free all of the adults he's kept as prisoners, to which he replies, yes. She then meets the injured rabbit, who's now all patched up, asking her father if she can keep him as a pet. But he turns her idea down, saying that it'll disturb the ecosystem. She then lets the rabbit go. Nox then lands on her head and reminds her that she already has a pet. While she's at it, she remembers that she has to show Gratia to her father, who gets angry knowing that Nema has kept the little spider as a pet as well. The goblin leader shows up and explains the difference between animals and monsters. He tells Nema that monsters are defects, that goblins are defective versions of humans, and that frost spiders are defective forms of spiders. And then explains that their being defective is the reason why they're weak, and that in order for a monster to become stronger, they require names. He then explains that if someone strong gave a name to a monster, the monster would become stronger, which causes Nema to get scolded by her father for giving the baby spider a name. They then continued their journey along with Pino and Nino. Meanwhile, Soul comes and explains the newly evolved goblin leader. He tells them that the goblin leader is not an Oni, as Oni cannot use elemental powers. But the goblin leader has no idea what that is. So Soul tries to teach him by practicing on clay dolls. But to everyone's surprise, the goblin leader can use all the elements and completely destroys the clay dolls. Nema then accidentally gives the goblin leader the name Shinki, which he gladly accepts, making Nema his master. Nema tells her father about her plan of monsters and humans living together in harmony. She tells him the main issues the monsters are currently facing is that they're losing their homes. In order to solve this problem, they need to find a new place to live. She suggests that they should be given a specific piece of land in the forest where they can live in peace, and it'll be protected by a barrier in case of overpopulation. The Adventurers Guild would use it as a training area. Its expanse would have been covered by placing inns and shops at the base of the mountains. Dale then plans to move on to the next inspection site, for which he asks Shinki for his help, as his newly discovered elemental powers and his knowledge about the monsters would be extremely useful. Hearing her thoughts, he hesitates to accept the offer, as he would have to leave the nest, a place where the goblins live for a long time. But he agrees to do so, demanding that her master Nema first give the name to the second strongest goblin after him, to which she agrees. The second strongest goblin turns out to be a girl who can talk a little bit. As she had been Shinki's right hand, Nema names the second strongest goblin Suzuko. As they're celebrating, another goblin appears and demands that Nema also give him a name, to which Suzuko says that he's weak and shouldn't be given one, but Nema decides to give him a name anyways. She asks what name he would prefer, and he tells Nema that his last crew was annihilated, and he would like a name so that he can get strong and protect his new friends. Despite being told he's weak, Nema decides to give him a name on the condition that, by the next time she comes back, he should be able to hunt down a giant boar all by himself, to which he agrees. Nema then names him Toki, meaning fighting ogre. On their way back from the nest, Nema tells Shinki about all the people and creatures she's surrounded by, and tells him how much she loves them all. Shinki then tells her that he had a brother who unfortunately died fighting the humans. As he gets down and gets depressed, Nema tells him that he's a part of her circle too, and that they're both friends now, calming him. On the way to the inspection site, in order to find out about some recent monster sightings, Dale asks Shinki about the path he took while fleeing from his previous nest. Shinki tells him his route, which helps Dale pin down the places where monsters might be situated. It also matches with the eyewitness reports. Nema then notices that the Osfe domain is filled with monsters, and her father suspects that humans might be involved in this incident, but he agrees to a proper investigation. The crew then stops at the town of Cass as Dale has to go back. He tells Nema that he asked Ralph to fill in for him. In town, Nema sneaks out into the Adventurers Guild, which looks like an employment center. She tells the receptionist that she only wants to take a look around, as the guide in the royal capital is pretty far from her home. During her tour, she finds some men fighting, and one of them is screaming, "Is the guild just going to sit by and ignore this injustice?" The man then continues to blame the mayor for sending out some of the adventurers only to get killed by the monsters. Upon asking the receptionist, Miss Bella, she tells them that the name of the person who's shouting is Hyoren Duet, who's apparently pretty good at his job but doesn't get along with the mayor. Bella tells them that Hyoren used to work at the castle, which makes Nema curious, and she asks him what he's on about, to which he tells her it's no time for children. Ultimately, she uses her trump card, her family's name, and tells everyone that she's the daughter of the Duke, which amazes everyone, and Hyoren then tells her that the mayor is corrupt, and that he's embezzling money for himself. He swears on his name that he'll tell her father everything. She then sends Nox with a letter to her father to come to the mayor's house. At the main gate, Nema encounters her father, who scolds her and gets a bit disappointed about the fact that Nema used the family name. Seeing her father like that makes Nema tear up. But as she's about to cry, Ralph appears and tells her father that he's not allowed to make Nema cry. Remembering all the times her siblings have helped her, she starts to cry, but Will, the prince, wipes her nose off. Nema then tells her father about the mayor's embezzlement, and her father, after having a long conversation with the mayor, arrests him. The next day, Dale praises the efforts of Hyoren Duet, the financial auditor of the town. He compliments his insight and investigation abilities. Dale offers him a place at the palace, but Hyoren declines, saying that he has no plan to return now. Seizing this opportunity, Nema invites both Hyoren and Belle to work for her. Dale tells everyone that Nema currently has a plan, and if they work with her, all their lives will certainly be in danger. He then proceeds to take their vows upon their names, including Wilherd, the Prince of the Kingdom. After hearing the plan, Wilherd thinks that it's quite bizarre. Since Ralph will be the next Duke, Dale puts him in charge, and Wilherd and everyone else agrees to help out Nema. Meanwhile, Shinki comes back after working things out with the local goblins. Nema asks her father if he has any information about the kobolds in Lennis, and he says that there are reports of a large horde and an attack on a caravan. The squad leader reveals that there are around 100 kobolds, separated into groups, who are led by a werewolf of even a higher rank. They learn that someone might be stopping information from reaching the royal capital. The people who attacked Shinki were either imposters posing as adventurers, or someone who made a request of the guild. Dale says that there could be a couple spies in other provinces and knighthood too. He thinks of a code name for the enemy, naming them Runohark, and decides to call the attack on the monsters the Southern Province Incident. The next day, they set out for Lennis. On their way, Willard decides to name Nema's plan the Shiana Project. When Dale reaches home, he tells Karna and his wife Cerulia that someone is behind the appearance of countless monsters in their domain. Cerulia decides to help by searching various guilds. She reveals a letter from Philip, a close associate of Dale and one of the few purple-ranked adventurers, saying that he will be in the capital tomorrow. Dale suggests that he would be a perfect instructor for Karna as she needs to practice fighting monsters too. Karna becomes resolute that she must become stronger and stay by Nema's side. In the meantime, Nema and others reach Lennis. At the gate, they request entry and are asked for verification. Willard and others step out of the vehicle, leaving Nema behind. Nema, feeling left out, uses wind spirits to hear the outside voices. Willard then explains that he's traveling unannounced as a companion of Ralph. There, he is greeted by Dylan Noctis, commander of the Parzeth District Office and member of the 1st Legion. He informs them that the area is dangerous because of the rogue kobolds. Ralph tells him that he is monitoring the monster sightings on behalf of the Duke. Dylan then lets him through to meet the proxy lord, Marquise Parzeth. Turns out, he is a pale-looking man and has large eye bags. Ralph asks if he's been getting enough sleep, and Marquise reveals that there's been so many kobolds lately that he hasn't, and explains that they contacted the Adventurers Guild because the knights can't keep up with them, and that they'll make a move once Red Halda, a famous adventurer party, arrives. Nema starts worrying that the party will exterminate the kobolds and she won't be able to execute her plan. While panicking, she asks Marquise if they could have some time to look around the city first. Ralph and Wilherd cover it up and succeed in buying time. They head outside to have a look and it's disastrous everywhere. When they go to the slums, they find malnourished children, even though Marquise should be supplying them with aid. This indicates that someone else was intercepting it. Suddenly, they hear a noise, and the knighthood along with Shinki and Nema run to see what's happening. Upon reaching, they see children stomping on a puppy. One child says that they were doing it because his dad says, "All dogs are enemies?" Nema realizes that his dad meant kobolds as dogs. He tells him that it's shameless to attack someone so defenseless. The child gets enraged and is about to hit Nema, but is stopped by the knighthood. Nema says you mustn't immediately resort to brute force. She then takes the puppy in her hands and gives motivating advice to him. He identifies himself as Belgar and swears to protect his loved ones. Afterwards, the children leave and Ralph heals the puppy. Sheikah reveals that it is actually a kobold puppy, leaving everyone shocked. Nema suggests that they give it back to its mother, and the kobolds shouldn't attack them immediately because of Lars. While the group is exploring the town, Hyoran points out that it's the noon hour and the bell hasn't rung, which he finds suspicious. He thinks the town is hiding something, and Nema asks him if he could look into this matter. Nema gives him wind spirits so he can inform Lars in case of an emergency. They split up with Hyoran to take the kobold pup back home and to negotiate with kobolds about Project Shiana. They head into the forest to look for their hideout. The kobold pup tells Nema the way and gets excited as they get close. Shinki picks up Nema so they can walk faster. Suddenly, they hear the bushes moving, and the knighthood immediately cuts the grass. Oh, it's a slime. Nema is immediately attracted to its soft body. Shinki reveals that he can understand what the slime is saying. The slime is asking for their help, and that its weakened comrade is up ahead. It leads the way, and Ralph promises Nema that he will help her if things get ugly. Upon reaching the destination, they see a parent slime. It's a large slime, and many baby slimes can be seen inside of it. It could give birth at any moment, but Nema tries to stop it, saying that it's cold and dangerous here. Willard says that parent slimes become parasitic and cannot move on their own, but they don't reproduce while inhabiting someone. Nema is scared that it might eat her, but the slime reveals that it doesn't eat the person that it likes. She then agrees and names the parent slime Shizuku. Shizuku gets happy and enters Nema's body, and then explains that the baby slime will be the next parent, so they can't leave it alone. Nema decides to keep it with her and names the baby slime Haku. They continue their journey to find the kobolds. Willard says that they have walked a long distance, but the scenery hasn't changed. They ask Lars and he says that magic isn't the only phenomenon, nor is living creatures and spirits. The god of divine creation's power overflows throughout the world, which indicates that there could be something else besides magic. Nema whispers something in Lars's ear, and the spirits start moving differently. They tell Gratia and Shinki to wait for a while and go ahead. They walk for a while, and a flashback is shown where Willard is reading a book about guardians to Nema. They are beings which are neither magical nor living creatures or spirits. Then they see a giant tree and figure out it's the guardian. Nema apologizes for the inconvenience, but the guardian says that it's alright and asks who she is. She introduces herself and the guardian asks how it can help them. Upon asking about the kobolds, the guardian says that it can't disclose the information of where they're located because the kobolds were driven to the forest by the humans and he decided to hide them. Nema makes the tree aware of the current situation, that the kobolds will be exterminated if they don't do anything. The guardian agrees to help Nema but also warns her that if she betrays him, she will not leave the forest alive. She then says that she'll swear upon her name, but the guardian stops her, saying she doesn't need to go that far. The guardian creates a path in the forest for the group, and Nema thanks him. With the help of the spirits, they start moving through the forest. Nema sighs, saying that food will also be a problem for Project Shiana. She asks Shinki what goblins eat for food, and he says they can eat anything, but kobolds are omnivores. Suddenly, Lars and Nox start pointing at danger, and a large bug appears to attack them, but Nox defeats it. Ralph says that it's a monster bug called Mamushi. Shinki says that it's edible and starts roasting it on fire. He gives the big piece to Lars and a smaller one to Nox. When Nema tastes it, she thinks that it's very delicious. Willard and others try it without even cooking it first, and think that it can be used as a great meal. Nema then tells everyone to hunt these bugs, because she wants to give them to the kobolds as a gift. After hunting and collecting many mamushis, they continue their journey. After walking for a while, they see a lot of red eyes of kobolds in the dark. Nema tries to explain the situation, but Shinki tells her that the kobolds don't trust her. She then shows them the mamushi meat they brought for them, and they decide to talk to their leader. Soon, they reach a place in the forest which is filled with kobolds. Nema is happy seeing all the fluffy dogs. A kobold approaches them and asks their purpose for being there. Nema explains that they're here to return the little pup, and later tells the kobolds about the mamushi meat they brought for them. Nema returns the little pup, and they distribute meat amongst the kobolds. The female kobold says that her name is Cicely, and is grateful for them. She then proceeds to tell her their story, that the kobolds were persecuted by humans. Nema tells her that an extermination squad will soon be here, to which she replies, I know. Cicely reveals that she's a star reader, a priestess able to tell the future, and explains to Nema that she intends to fight the humans. Nema starts telling her about Project Shiana, but Cicely interrupts, saying she refuses to trust humans. After a while, Ralph and others come and tell Nema that they need to head back. Nema tells her that she'll come back tomorrow. Cicely looks up at the sky and sees that a savior star is next to their star, wondering if Nema is related to it. The next day, back at the castle, they get a letter from Dale stating that Karna is heading their way. Willard reads a report stating that the prince temporarily holds the power to arrest. It means that they can get rid of any knight that gets in their way. Ralph notices that Hyoren still hasn't come back. A spirit tells Shinki that Hyoren is hiding somewhere in the slums, but doesn't need much help. Nema says that she'll go back to the forest. She greets the kobolds and gives them food again. Cicely is surprised when she sees monsters with Nema. Nema then explains how she helped all the monsters and that she wants to help the kobolds too. But Cicely is unsure about it and says she needs to protect them. She then cries when telling it that all of her bloodline except for her sister was killed, causing Nema to give her Haku to calm her down. After that, Nema tells Cicely about her plan, and Cicely is surprised to hear that a human is helping monsters. Nema tells her that race and tribe don't matter to her, and she wants to save everyone, making Cicely agree to join Nema in her plan. After some time, Nema is greeted by another kobold named Hanley. Nema tells him that she is the leader of the goblins and the one who named Shinki, and Hanley is surprised by hearing that. She then asks him about kobolds, and Hanley breaks down their ecology. He says that kobolds are split up into two types, hunting and lifestyle. Hunting bloodlines excel with weapons and physical abilities, and lifestyle excel at craftsmanship and things useful in daily life. While he's still explaining it, Nema jumps onto him, and turns out his fur is super soft. Ralph and Willard also join Nema. Soon all the kobold leaders are gathered, and Nema explains Project Shiana to them. Eventually, they all like and support her plan, and Nema also mentions that the adventurers will be here soon, so they need to evacuate as soon as possible. While Nema explains the evacuation plan, she's interrupted by Cicely's sister. It turns out the sister is from a wolf tribe that was abandoned. The sister says not to trust humans because all humans are greedy and rude, and all the leaders start questioning it too. But Cicely tells everyone to watch their mouths. Cicely's sister starts crying and continues that she wants to help their pack too, and that she wants to defeat humans as well. Nema realizes that she was feeling left out and decides to comfort her. Nema asks her if she wants to join her and help the kobolds. The sister wonders if she can really do that, and Cicely says that Nema is their savior and that she must protect her. Nema wonders what she means by that, and Cicely says that they are only getting helped because of Nema and that Ralph and Willard would have given up. Ralph and Willard definitely agree, and Nema suggests to Ralph that he should infiltrate the extermination squad so they can decrease the casualties and use healing magic too. Later, Nema is greeted by a kobold named Fika, who says that he, along with 2 other kobolds, will act as a messenger. Back in Lennis, Nema sends the other 2 kobolds, Go and Roku, to scout the adventurers, and the knights disguise themselves to infiltrate the adventurers' forces to collect information. Willard and Ralph decide to visit the knighthood's post. They all meet the extermination squad and tell them they have some things to discuss. While walking, Nema sees Hilren and is surprised. Hilren tells her to shush, and she whispers, "Reports at night." Ralph asks the man in charge if he can join the squad because he can use healing magic, and he agrees. Suddenly, they hear a knock at the door, and a knight whispers something in the leader's ears, and he quickly heads back. A spirit reveals to Shinki that some knights who tried to break up a fight between some adventurers were injured. They head out to take a look, and Nema is shocked to see it. As the group stares in horror at the injured knights, Willard explains the wounds seem to be both from carnivorous beasts and magic. Ralph, noticing the healing knights won't be enough, decides to step in and heals many of the knights at once. One of the knights explains the culprit behind the attacks is a beastmaster, similar to Lester and the Beast Knights, making it clear there are criminals pretending to be regular adventurers. Later that night, after they've caught the perpetrator, Nema wanders the halls thinking about the mysterious Beastmaster attacker. She enters a room, meeting Willard, Ralph, and Hilren, having Hilren report his investigation on the knights. He notes the regional commander to be shady, as he's been stealing relief aid, embezzling funds, and taking bribes from adventurers. Nema wanted to know more about the bribes, so Hilren explained that if adventurers paid him, he'd over-report their achievements, giving them a better standing at the Adventurers Guild. Willard is a little vexed, since there's no physical evidence, as Hilren is concluding this is because of his lack of being able to follow the money trail. But contemplating a little more, Willard figures out the knights must be inflating the amount of supplies they ordered, and if they go through the knights' orders and deliveries, they'll definitely find something off. Willard then entrusts Hilren with his royal crest, and authority to look into the knights. However, this could also put a target on Hilren's back from the wrongdoers, so Nema makes a prayer to the spirits to protect him. The next day, at the kobold camp, Willard explains his plans for the kobolds to fight his knights, while keeping the casualties to a minimum as much as possible. He then has Nema speak, and she tells everyone to prepare themselves, because there will be casualties. But she's heartbroken, knowing Willard will also be harming the soldiers from his kingdom that he swore to protect. Afterwards, walking through the forest, Willard explains she needs to stop wearing that sad expression. Everyone will panic if they see their leader looking uneasy, but when someone chooses a path in a situation like this, they shouldn't waver. Nema wonders if Willard ever feels conflicted, to which he responds he definitely does. Especially knowing he's following his father's footsteps, being the future king, will his choices betray the hopes of the people around him? He thinks these things all the time, but when making a decision, he is resolute. They suddenly get a message from Ralph. The Beastmaster has been released from jail in order to strengthen the Knight's forces, pissing Willard off, knowing the Knight's commander is overstepping his authority. All this only makes Nema more concerned about the fate of tomorrow's battle. The next day, Go and Roku come to cheer her up. The kobold fight leader can tell she's worried, but regardless, they choose to stand by Nema. With his encouraging words, Nema snaps out of her funk, and later, Willard gives a change of plans, explaining the powerful adventurer group Red Chlada has arrived, as well as the criminal Beastmaster fighting on the side of the knights as well. Cicely's sister comes to comfort Nema. However, she suddenly senses the arrival of enemies, and we see the knights' extermination squad approaching. As the knights continue to march, Shinki casts a fog to obscure their vision, and Willard sends Lars to launch an air raid, and the kobolds come in to incapacitate the knights using special herbs and tie them up against trees. Also, the undercover knights are doing their work as well. They find the captured Beastmaster, who sneakily calls his white cat to attack, but luckily, Gratia puts the cat out with a bite, saving the day, also biting the Beastmaster, paralyzing him. Willard then moves to the next plan, releasing logs to obscure the knight's walking path, and some of the knight's team also fall into a preset pitfall. where Nema had Haku lay at the bottom, ready to dissolve both armor and weapons. However, the biggest threat appears: the adventurer group, Red Halata. Their leader, Yuno, tells Sarah the mage to save the men in the pitfall, and she brings them up with an earth pillar. The kobolds and the knights engage in combat. Amongst Red Halata's squad, Nema notices a beast person who tells Yuno that he can smell humans helping out the kobolds, making Yuno realize he wasn't imagining things when he had heard the voice of a little girl earlier. As Yuno easily cuts down the kobolds, he commands the knights to protect the wounded and healers. With Nema staring in horror at the defeat of the kobolds, Willard tells her not to look away and to remain resolute in this path she chose. Kobold mages then cast an advanced fire spell, which is powerful enough to give caution to Yuno and his gang, making them fall back. Yuno tells the knights they need to retreat, but the knights' commander is more worried that they've only exterminated half the kobolds. But Yuno doesn't want to take any more losses. But wait, despite how hard the fight has been, how come their own side hasn't suffered any casualties yet? Sarah then catches on that this whole extermination mission seems like some kind of scheme. Suddenly, Ralph appears, advising them all with the current stalemate they should just pull out with no casualties. Then girls from Red Halata, while fawning over Ralph, also agree with him. Sarah explains werewolves are kobolds' third evolutionary form, with each one possessing special magic that would make them difficult to exterminate. Yuno agrees, adding on the evolved monsters can be difficult, with varying degrees of strength, magic, and speed. But then Knight Commander Dylan interjects, saying that's the very reason they need to exterminate the kobolds. With that, Ralph says he guesses there's no choice, having Sarah cast a barrier. Inside, he has everyone swear upon their names not to repeat what he's going to relay to them. Yuno gets nervous at first, but everyone within promises. Ralph then explains the monster attacks in the north seem to be artificially orchestrated by some organization, but they still haven't figured out the source, making everyone gasp. For now, they're calling this nefarious entity Runohark, and this is enough to convince Commander Dylan to pull out his knights. However, the knights outside the barrier suddenly get struck with a lightning spell. Just what is going on? Nema stares in horror at the sight of the kobold casualties. This is real, not like a viewing from the other side of a screen. Some who were there with them just a few hours ago are no longer there. Nema blamed herself for this. With the knights beginning their pullout, Shinki casts lightning so the kobold side can make an escape. The whole point of this battle was to get to safety while mitigating the attack from the extermination squad as best as they could. But it didn't turn out like Nema hoped. Meeting back with Cicely, Willard explains that 14 died, 11 are gravely injured, and were dismembered or disfigured. The healers did everything they could, but this is still the result. One of the kobold groups was especially sad, with the fight leader having sacrificed himself. And even though Nema was hurt, she remembered him telling her, "You gotta do what you gotta do." Her resolve steeled, and she told the kobolds to stop crying for him. It's rude to the fallen. One of them shouted at Nema, blaming her for all of this. She understands and accepts his blame, but she won't let anyone disrespect the memory of their comrades. The kobolds anger further, questioning why they're not allowed to mourn the parents and friends they've lost. But Nema didn't say not to mourn them. She's really telling them to stop blaming themselves. Do they think they should have died instead? That the ones who died should have lived? Thoughts like those are selfish pity parties. The ambition of the fallen warriors was the pack's future. They wanted those they risked their lives for to be able to smile. Nema will take their resentment, all of it if she must. But she's going to be as strong as the people they lost, and put her life on the line so everyone else can live. The little sister kobold stands in front, agreeing with Nema, and so does Cicely. She believes Nema will lead them to peace. It's the sign of the stars. The stars led the kobold pack through the harshest of times, so she'll choose to believe them, and that Nema is their savior. The leader of the healers expresses agreement. He then reminds everyone that healing magic is not all-powerful. All living things die someday. For those who passed, their time had come. If they die, they should die fighting rather than as prey. They are carrying on the will of those they lost. Afterward, they discussed where to go from here. They decided to send the kobolds towards Mount Letimo in the southwest, while leaving the fallen with the guardian of the forest. Cicely decided to leave her sister with Nema, making Nema excited that she might have landed the best animal-eared maid ever. Nema explains since she's a noble, the little sister will have to learn proper etiquette, and she's fired up to do anything for Nema. They ask Nema to name the sister, and with her being a beast person, she wouldn't be bound to Nema since she technically isn't a monster like Shinki or the kobolds. Nema names her Spica. It's the star that signifies the end of a cruel winter. Then the two kobold pups, Go and Roku, jump on Nema. They also want names. Go becomes Sego and Roku becomes Rikuse, with the magic crests appearing under their fur. The pups happily lick their master. In the evening, they say their goodbyes for now, with Nema's side promising to meet the kobolds once they finish up on their end. Back at base, they meet with Hyoren, who has the evidence they discussed. There are order and delivery receipts, plus records of their usage. He found receipts for additional orders later, but couldn't find the goods anywhere. There are also signs of tampering in the usage records. Nema is surprised to hear that some of the invoices are fabricated. This means the merchants and some of the knights are involved. With that, Willard tells them he'll have the capital send agents to investigate this matter at once. They then head to the extermination squad party, where a knight greets them. Willard congratulates the squad's success and for everything they do for the Empire. However, when the knight takes his leave, they have Shinki keep an eye on him. The prince and Nema then decide to grace Red Clodda to pay their respects. However, Nema recognizes Yuno's sword and gets upset. But Lars comforts her. She cannot lose face now. Greeting her now is Luck of the Ice Bear tribe. Nema gets excited seeing his bear ears, but Lars smacks some sense into her. Luck is certain little Nema isn't the master of Lars, the Holy Wind Beast, but is shocked to see they're best friends. Nema and Luck decide to grab a bite to eat together, and when he picks her up, the soldiers stare and marvel. She finally gets to touch his ears, and it's exactly what she's been waiting for all along. The bottom is thin, but has a delightful, fluffy feel. The top is firm and has a nice texture. She then spots Belgar cleaning dishes, a rowdy boy who had a misguided sense of justice, bullying a kobold pup because of his father's influence. But because of Nema's words, he's now determined to become strong enough to protect the people he cares for. Nema applauds him, glad that he's on the right path. When telling him she's happy to be his friend, he can't help but blush. Returning back to the group, Big Sister Karna runs to grab onto Nema, wanting her to tell everything about her adventure. At the campfire, as Nema feeds her creatures, Karna is impressed seeing all the packs she formed, praising Nema for being beloved by the god of divine creation. Nema agrees, but she still has a lot to learn about countries and people. She recognizes now the importance of her status. She doesn't want to burden anyone just because she's little. She doesn't want to bring shame on her family name. Karna then grabs onto her again, realizing Nema's gone through a lot. Luck tells her she can count on this group too, if she's ever in trouble. Looking at them all, Nema hopes one day she can make people understand that there are some monsters they can talk to and befriend. She's certain Luck and the fight leader would have gotten along. At night, as Nema is woken up from sleep, she sees Sol outside of her window. It's nothing important, but he wants to take her to see a little bit of the world, a world brimming with beautiful things, a beauty that humans are foolish for not seeing. She thinks humans are foolish and weak, yet serious and pure. Other living things come in many forms, and they're also doing what they can to survive. Regardless, Nema loves this world, everyone and everything in it, so she swears on her name that she'll succeed in uniting this world together, human and monster. Wow, that's it everyone. A soft end to this tale, but it's not over. Hopefully this will get a season 2, and she'll be able to prove to God this world is worth saving. But for now though, watch this next video. It's me, ComfyTea. I'll see you all in the next one.